Today, I'm going to be talking about the National Open University of Nigeria. A number of people have responded to my last video about the Open University, and I've had so much of incredible feedback. One of the questions that was asked was that for an undergraduate level student, would I recommend studying at the National Open University of Nigeria? The perspective for someone who's an undergraduate would be very different from someone who's studying at postgraduate level. And so for an undergraduate, it would be necessary to consider certain factors that I am going to be talking about today. So if you are at that stage where you need to decide on whether you want to study at the National Open University of Nigeria at undergraduate level, then you should watch this video. Don't forget to subscribe. Click on the subscribe button so that you can have more and more of my content. I post about education, I post about business, I post about things that can help you move forward in life. So click on that subscribe button. Also, you can visit my website, inspiredwitholumide.com. I have lots of resources there for you. So let's dive right into this. I must say that don't watch this video in isolation. Watch the other video that I made. I'm going to put the link in the description. Watch that video as well so that you can have a very balanced review. In that video, I talked comprehensively about the Open University and I talked about my own experiences studying there at postgraduate level. So watch that video. It would help you to have a very balanced perspective. Also, one thing I would say is that everybody's context would be different. Each person is different. Your situations would be different from mine. And so the final advice, the final thing that you should do is left to you. However, I am going to be discussing based on a popular maxim. That's the maxim adopted by Obafemi Awolowo University in Ife, Nigeria. And that maxim is for learning and culture. I believe that those two keywords, learning and culture, summarize what a university should do and summarize the functions of a university. So based on those two keywords and a number of other words as well, I will be talking about whether the National Open University of Nigeria is a great fit for you at undergraduate level. Let us begin with the learning function of universities. A university is supposed to be a center of learning, and that learning takes place in at least two ways. The first of them is teaching or instruction. The second is research. So based on those, is the National Open University of Nigeria a center of teaching? Yes, it is. But for somebody who's just starting, somebody who's getting into it at undergraduate level, I would recommend that you are aware of the realities. The realities are that you're studying through distance learning, which means you have study materials, but you're not physically interacting with any lecturer. And so that teaching function might not be the kind that you would find in a traditional university. I must say that there are efforts to gear up the online teaching. For example, for GNS courses, for general classes, you would see that there are online classes, there is online facilitation, but that does not exist for all the courses. So there is still that gap. There is that teacher-learner gap. You have study materials, you have to read them on your own, you have to prepare for exams on your own. You might be able to collaborate with a number of people or find some tutorial centers, but that's pretty much what you have. So that is a big factor to consider. My honest advice for somebody who's going into it at undergraduate level is I feel that that teaching function of a university is a very important one. And so what I would say is, if you've already experienced that in some other way, maybe you've done some post-secondary level course, maybe something like a national diploma, higher national diploma, or maybe some teaching qualification, NCE, or something like that, then the National Open University of Nigeria might be a great choice for you, because that teaching function at that point in time might not be as essential as it would be for somebody who's just starting out fresh. But the truth is that if you're just starting out fresh, you're just done with secondary school, you might not yet possess the maturity to have the self-drive to learn on your own. And that is a reality that I must share with you. So if you're not a mature student, if you're not a very mature student, consider your options very well. From a teaching perspective, the National Open University of Nigeria might not be your best option. Number two, let's look at research, which is still part of the learning function of a university. Well, the great news is that at undergraduate level in Nigeria especially, there isn't so much of research being done. So it doesn't really matter. I believe that using distance learning, using e-learning, the little research that is done at undergraduate level can be easily done. You can get to meet virtually with instructors, you can communicate with your teachers, you actually have access to some of their contact details, you can reach out to them. So I don't think that there is much of a problem at undergraduate level from a research perspective. So I would say that if that's the factor you're considering, go for it. The National Open University of Nigeria would be a great choice for you from that perspective. So that is the learning function. Of course, I must say that learning takes place in other ways as well, some of which I'm still going to touch on while discussing the next point. That next point is culture. So a university is meant to be a place where the cultures, the modes of operation of the society are transmitted to learners. And so as a learner, a university is a place where you get to inculcate the cultures of the society. You get to learn the norms. You get to know how to relate in that society and ultimately how you can be successful. The question then is, are you able to do that at the National Open University of Nigeria? My answer to that would be yes and no. Again, you see, technology keeps improving. And so what that implies is that now more than ever before, there are better options for learning online. And the National Open University of Nigeria has started taking advantage of many of these opportunities. For example, I took a general studies course, and in that course we had online training. We were instructor-led, meaning the instructor was teaching online every week, and we were able to access the lectures. But it wasn't just the teaching. We also had to participate in discussions. We had to respond to other people's discussions. We had to give feedback and all of that. So there was a virtual assembly. There was a virtual meeting such that we were able to gain some of the culture functions of universities. Another way that the National Open University of Nigeria helps you to take advantage of the culture function of universities is through the study centers. So your study center is meant to be like, in some way, your second family. You're meant to be able to go there, get to use the library, get to interact with people, get to discuss with counselors and all of that. And if I were to judge by my own study center, I think that they've done a decent job of that. I think that they've actually tried with regards to that. However, those two things said, I would still say that for undergraduate level study, especially if it is your first attempt at undergraduate level study, I would say that the culture function of a university is something that you should take advantage of. And if you have the chance, my personal opinion would still be, go to a traditional university. Why am I saying that? Because you see, it's not just about having e-meetings and all of that. It's about interacting with people, becoming friends with people, forming alliances. Why? You don't know. Maybe some of those friends that you're making in the university are going to be crucial people in the president's cabinet tomorrow. Maybe that's how you're also going to become the minister for finance or something like that. What I'm trying to say is that relationships matter, and the ability to form alliances, to form strong friendships is one of the crucial aspects of attending a university. If you're a mature learner, and in this case I'm not talking just about age, I'm also assuming that you formed the necessary relationships. Probably you've started working. Maybe you've met with several people. Perhaps you've attended some form of college or the other, like a college of education, or you've done a national diploma, or you've taken some other course that might not be equal to a degree, but has taken you beyond secondary school level. At that stage, we can say that you've already fulfilled the culture function of an institution of higher learning. And so if you've done that, then the National Open University of Nigeria would be a great choice for you. So we've looked at learning and we've looked at culture, but let's consider a few other things. Accreditation. One of the reasons why you would attend university is to gain a credential that is accepted everywhere. And how do you know a credential is accepted? It must be accredited by the recognized accreditation agencies of that country. On that note, I would tell you good news. The National Open University of Nigeria is fully accredited by the Nigerian Universities Commission. What that implies is that when you complete your course at the Open University, you're going to end up with a certificate that is recognized both by the government and by the private sector within and outside Nigeria. It is fully recognized, it is fully accepted. Somebody asked a question as a comment to the last video, and the question was that if you have a credential from the National Open University of Nigeria, would you be able to apply for scholarships abroad? And my answer to that was yes, absolutely. If you have a credential from the Open University, if you have a good score, why not? Go for it. It is fully accredited, it is fully recognized. So from an accreditation perspective, please feel free to go for it. Another factor that we must consider is the brand value of your degree. So if you're doing this at undergraduate level, it becomes a very serious consideration. The brand value of your degree. How good is the brand? On that note, I'll be very honest with you. If you have a certificate from maybe UI, University of Ibadan, and you have another one from, say, OAU, and then you have one from the National Open University of Nigeria, I believe that most employers are going to favor the one from UI or from OAU. They would favor the certificates from the traditionally known universities over the certificate from the National Open University of Nigeria. However, like I stated in my last video, don't let this discourage you. What you have to offer might be a more important factor than the brand value of the certificate you are holding. So maybe instead of relying on the brand value or the lack of it, you should rather push your abilities and the learnings that you have gained. The final factor that I would like for you to consider as an undergraduate or as somebody who wants to take undergraduate level studies at the National Open University of Nigeria is entry. Entry into the Open University is much easier than it is for the traditional universities. Why is that?
You only need a valid O-level certificate, which can be SSC or GCE. It can be WAEC, it can be NECO. Either option is fine. Once you have this, you can apply for admission at the Open University, and it is automated. Yes, you have to do some verification at your study center and all of that, but you are assured of admission once you have a valid O-level credential. So I would say that from that perspective, if you've been trying so hard to pass UTME and all those things, please consider the Open University, especially if you meet some of the other things I talked about earlier. If you're a mature student, maybe who has had some other form of learning elsewhere, such that you know that you are self-motivated, you can do without the traditional teaching structure, and you already have your own relationships, you have your own alliances, and so you can do to a good extent without the community function of a university as well. If you know that you meet these criteria that I have outlined, then you should hesitate no further. Go ahead and pursue a degree at the National Open University of Nigeria. And yes, to be very clear, you do not need JAMB UTME for admission to the National Open University of Nigeria. You don't need it, and your admission is very valid. Okay, one bonus point. I think that if you're an undergraduate and you've been dreaming about youth service, the NYSC program, National Youth Service Corps, if you've been dreaming about that, then you might want to reconsider going to the National Open University of Nigeria. Why is that? As of today, you cannot serve with a certificate from the National Open University of Nigeria. Please note that this is not in any way to imply that that certificate is inferior. No, not at all. It is, however, because the National Open University of Nigeria admits more students than any other university in Nigeria. So if all its students or all its graduates were to go for youth service, there would be a crisis with NYSC. So to avert such a crisis, what they do instead is, if you're a graduate of the National Open University of Nigeria, you can apply for exemption from youth service, and that request will be granted. So I just think that that is something you might want to bear in mind if you're thinking about this for undergraduate level study. Yes, that is it. Remember that, like I said, you should watch the other video, the one I made earlier, so that you can have a very balanced perspective. I talked about my own experiences as a postgraduate student at the National Open University of Nigeria, and I gave my reasons for pursuing that course and why you should too if you meet some of the criteria that I outlined. I talked about the advantages and the disadvantages that you would want to look out for. So make sure you watch that video. Also, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Click on that subscribe button so that you can have more and more and more of my content. I look forward to bringing more content to you. I look forward to helping to uplift you and to help make you better. So right now, I'm signing out. Do have a very beautiful day. Bye for now.